the evangelical church holds the Bible in high esteem, in theory, but not always in practice. On this issue of women in leadership, women in families, the position of women in society, I guess there are two errors which evangelicals, or so-called evangelicals, fall into. One is to be so conservative that they're not prepared to listen to any other arguments on how to interpret the Bible. And so you find a lot of intolerance. And that happens among ministers as well. The opposite error is to take our ideas from the surrounding society. So I'm really worried when Christians, evangelical Christians, begin to mouth the same opinions as the secular world. And they might arrive at a good viewpoint, but they're doing so not from biblical reasons, but from the same cultural values as everybody else. And I think what that does is it opens up a wedge for secular, unbelieving reason to infiltrate the church. So that if we do that on one issue, we'll do it on another issue. And we might disagree on our attitudes to Scripture, but we need to go back to Scripture constantly.
I think many times passages in the Bible are taken out of context. We have to look at in what context was this passage written. And a popular one is the issue around submission. Wives submit. And it's interesting because sometimes as a leader, maybe when I'm counseling a couple, I've come across where men would be very upset. She doesn't submit to me. You know, she is not submissive. And the woman just cringes, I cringe, and all of that, because he's been told that a good wife and a good woman submits. So when even as a Christian, he's going out looking for a woman that will submit to him, that's out of context. What you should be looking at is a woman that I can love. You see, and when you find a woman that you can love, when God leads you to the woman that you can love, the issue of submission doesn't even arise, because a woman that is nurtured, that is loved and everything, will love you back, will submit to you in love. The whole thing about women covering their hair, again, is a cultural thing. It was to cover their hair was to complete your dressing. And so it was almost like, please pardon me, but it's almost like a woman goes out without wearing her bra. Right. So it's like it was to complete her dressing. It was a thing of honor. So not to cover your hair was seen as this, you were not honoring yourself, not to wear your shawl. And that was in its context. And in many cultures, and in many Christian cultures today, women still cover their hair as a mark of respect. But to cover your hair was not meant to be a gagging order.
So Ephesians 5:22 is quoted a lot about women in leadership and women in a marriage context. But Ephesians 5:22 is preceded by Ephesians 5:21, which says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. And it's speaking to the whole church, male and female, that actually love and submission is our model for doing every relationship. And then in verse 22 and following, that package of love and mutual submission is unpacked in the context of first century marriage. Well, how does this look like for a first century wife? How does this look like for a first century husband? And it's our job to think, okay, how does love and mutual submission look like in a 21st century marriage, in a 21st century church?